Hello, Year 11, and welcome to the night before news video for paper one of your maths exams. This is the foundation video. Please make sure you're on the right video. If you're doing higher tier, then obviously you need to find the other one. I'm going to talk through some topics that are particularly likely to come up in this exam tomorrow, but then I'm also going to talk through some more of what you can be doing tonight to make sure you're as ready as possible for this exam tomorrow. So let's get stuck in. So first of all, in terms of topics, I'm going to talk through a few lists. I'm going to start with the things that are most likely to come up, and then we'll talk about some of the other topics that you might want to have in mind as well. You might want to pause the video at this point and make sure you've got a pen and paper. You may want to jot down some notes. Don't write down everything that I say. You've got it in the video. You don't need to do that. But if I mention a topic that you know you're not really confident on, it might be worth making a note so that you can spend some time looking at it later. And I will remind you of where you can find revision on these things. So in our extremely likely list, first of all, we have fractions, adding, subtracting, timesing, dividing, but also making sure we are really confident simplifying fractions, converting from mixed to improper and vice versa. This is guaranteed to come up in the exam tomorrow, so please make sure you cover all the bases in your revision. Secondly, we've got the same thing with decimals. You're less likely to need to revise addition and subtraction. Just make sure you are really confident on carrying and borrowing for those respectively. But multiplying decimals is hugely common, and something that's been emerging as a more common topic recently is dividing decimals. So do remind yourself of how you need to do that. If you're not sure, email me or your maths teacher, and we can run through that with you. Estimation, again, really important paper one topic. None of these things, by the way, that I've mentioned early on are very likely at all to come up in paper two or paper three because you'd be able to use your calculator for them. But estimations are very common paper one topic. Unit conversions will come up across all three papers, so make sure you're really hot on those. Millimeters, centimeters, meters, kilometers, but also the unit conversions for grams and kilograms, milliliters and liters, etc. And then your algebra skills. Algebra makes up 20 to 25% of your GCSE. I've listed a few of the things that come under algebra here. It's super broad. It's not a topic as such. It's just a reminder that you will start seeing some of these things in your exam. They will all come up probably at some point across the three papers. You want to be ready for all of them in paper one, and then you'll have a narrower list of algebra topics to revise for papers 2 and 3. Speed, distance, time, and other compound measures, but speed, distance, time is particularly common for the non-calculator exam, including questions where you need to convert between like minutes and hours, for example. So make sure you're ready for that. Money problems, and again, this is going back to like decimal arithmetic is kind of the main thing that we're trying to address here. But questions where you have to read the questions really carefully, 4 or 5 markers. And then things like fractions of amounts, percentages of amounts, splitting numbers into ratios, and the reverse versions of all of these topics. These all work slightly differently in a non-calculator exam compared to calculator. Again, they all have the potential to test you on your arithmetic, but are all well worth practice. This one, if you're in set 3, then this is something that we've done some work on earlier in the year. Exact trigonometric values. It's not super likely to come up. I've put it in the extremely likely column. It will not come up in paper 2 or paper 3. So if it's something that you want to be able to answer, and it might only come up for 1 mark, now is the time to make sure you can do it. It's not worth leaving till later. It will not be in your other exams. And then proportion. Ratio and proportion is another strand of the GCSE. So again, it's huge. It makes up about 20% of your marks. And that includes things like recipes, best buys, similar shapes. For the calculator papers, it will also include things like currency conversions, but probably not for non-calculator. These are the particular topics that you want to make sure you're ready for. But it's not all. There is more. These things are also likely, but not as likely as the topics I have in my first list. Fraction, decimal, percentage conversions, nth term for sequences and using nth term. We've had a lot of questions in recent years with diagrams of sequences, so you might want to have a look for those. I've put sequences here again more broadly, so questions where you're asked what's the 50th term of this sequence, for example, or it might not be a linear sequence, it might be a sequence where the terms multiply from one term to the next, or it might be a Fibonacci sequence. If you don't know what I mean by Fibonacci, then look it up. Highest common factor and lowest common multiple could come up in any of the 3 papers, but has a pretty good chance of coming up tomorrow. Angle facts, including those 4 or 5 markers where you need to give reasons for each stage of your working. That could include angles in parallel lines and angles in polygons. Plotting graphs where you've got tables of values, could be linear graphs, could be quadratic. Error intervals is really, really common. No reason why it can't come up in the calculator exams, but I would definitely make sure you're ready for it for tomorrow. And transformations. Transformations typically comes up in 2 of the 3 papers. So again, very good chance that you get translation, rotation, reflection, or enlargement in this exam tomorrow. And then other topics that are also possible to come up, but again, less likely than the ones I've already mentioned. Probability. I mean, you will get probability, but there's quite a lot of different things that could be. Standard form. I always like to think it's more likely to come up in paper 1, but actually it's been appearing in calculator exams more often. It's still worth revising now because it's definitely hardest in non-calculator. You probably won't need to revise it if it's coming up in paper 2 or 3 because you'll just use your calculator. And then these statistical graphs, stem and leaf, frequency trees, Venn diagrams, also things like frequency polygon, two-way tables, etc. Pythagoras theorem. You won't get SOHCAHTOA, you won't get trigonometry unless it uses one of those exact trig values. Pythagoras, though, very much on the table, will have nice numbers if it comes up. Area. Think of the different shapes that could come up and make sure you know how to find the areas of them. Rectangles and triangles being the easiest, but parallelogram, trapezium, and really importantly, circles. Angles and polygons I mentioned briefly before, but it kind of sits outside angle facts. You won't be asked to give reasons for each stage if you're working with these. Make sure you know your rules. Make sure you know what an interior and an exterior angle are. I've mentioned circles before, but area and circumference, parts of circles as well potentially. And then simultaneous equations, not as high frequency as it used to be, but still has a good chance of coming up. And paper 1 seems to be quite a popular destination for it. And more. And there is lots more. That's what makes this GCSE difficult. Revising for it's easy, but the number of topics that you need to keep on top of is the challenge here. So in terms of how to spend the rest of your evening, and think about this kind of bleeding into tomorrow morning as well, because you'll have the opportunity to come in the morning and get us to go through stuff. So anything that you do in your revision that you're not sure about, please bring with you. But for now, if you want to look at specific topics, if there are things from that list that you know you need to do some work on, particularly the things that in the earlier lists, an option as always is Sparks. You can search for topics on there. You know how to do that. You've got this this toolbar here at the side, independent learning, and then you can search for the topic that you're looking for. There you go. Make sure you're on the GCSE curriculum. Or, sorry, don't know why that's animated again. ExamQ is a website that we've mentioned before. It's just examq.co.uk. You just want to make sure you change the tier in this box to GCSE Maths Foundation, and make sure this says paper 1 for non-calculator. That's really important. And then you can use this drop down here to select topics or to search for topics and find what you're looking for. If, by the way, you can't find what you're looking for, please do just drop me an email and I will steer in the right direction. And remember, you get questions and the mark scheme on there, so you can check your answers using that button there. And then lastly, and probably the website that I would recommend more than any other for this is Maths Genie, mathsgenie.co.uk. And when you're on the website, you'll see this on the home page. You're looking for this button here that says GCSE revision. You can also access it here. It's got loads of topics that you can choose from. It's also a really good place to go if you're looking for practice papers. And if you don't have a decent list of topics that you need to work on, or even if you do, once you've worked through them, this is the best thing you can be doing with your time. Get an exam paper, do it, mark it, then see what you need to work on, maybe look at some topics, or just reattempt the questions and then crack on with another paper. Okay, if you want to use your time really effectively tonight, just do as many past papers as you can. I promise it will make a massive difference, and you can bring it in with you tomorrow, and again, have any of the maths teachers in the department have a look through it with you and see if there's anything that they can help you work on. To find them, go on GCSE papers and then make sure you select Edexcel exam papers. There's also this button here that you can see below GCSE revision, and you can download the papers. There are work solutions, there are videos for some of them, there are mark schemes. But again, come and get help from us if you're not sure about anything. You can also access predicted papers. We've provided you with a lot of predicted papers over the last few days. There will be resources in the hub when you come in the morning. This website here is one that you might not be aware of, mathslinks.co.uk. And it's just a nice summary of some of the predicted papers that you can download for yourselves. It's not the easiest website to navigate, but this is what it looks like. This is the top left corner of the web page. You're looking for this link here, Summer 2025 GCSE Maths Predicted Papers, and this is what you'll see. Okay, just make sure you're looking at the foundation sections, which are these highlighted areas here. There are more papers. You can get past papers from here as well. You can get practice papers and things like that, but I would do these predicted papers first. They call them best guess papers now. Remember, it is hard to predict what's going to come up in paper one, but if you do lots of papers, you will cover all of the bases. And then lastly, just a reminder on tomorrow morning, as part of this last sort of however many hours you've got left, tomorrow morning is really, really important, and you can make a huge difference. I mean a huge difference to the mark you're going to get in this exam from the revision that you do in the morning. So remember that the hub will be open from 7 AM. You don't have to get in at 7 AM, but if you want to, you're very welcome to. We will make sure there are as many of us as teachers in the hub as possible at that time on. Bring some questions with you that you haven't been able to answer. Be proactive in getting help. Please come and ask for help. We're very happy to help you. It will make a difference. And then we'll have line up at 8:25. And then I've said on here revision in maths classrooms, but I actually think that's wrong. I do apologise. I think we're going to be down in the conservatory again, and you will get a revision grid like this to work on. In that time, answer as many questions as you can and get help on anything you're not sure about. This will make the difference, okay? Again, I'll guarantee it now. People will affect their marks massively by what they do at this stage. Please don't just sit there having a chat, okay? If you're talking to someone next to you, make sure it's about this and nothing else. Make the most of every single second you've got before you walk into that exam, because once you do, you know what you know and you're not going to be able to change it, but you can up until that point. Final bits of advice in terms of exam technique, and these are things to consider as you do practice papers tonight, as you answer questions tomorrow, and most importantly, while you're in the exam. Firstly, hopefully it goes without saying at this point, but attempt every question. Don't leave anything blank. Blanks are guaranteed to be 0 marks. Any guesses you get down, you'd be surprised. There's always an easy mark, remember, on the higher mark questions, so do just give them a try. Read the last line of questions before you move on. Read the full question. Reread questions when you're going back through your papers and checking them. Keep thinking about sensible answers to contextual problems. You can catch mistakes so easily from doing that. Check your answers if possible. Sometimes you'll be able to work backwards through questions. If you can't, then just reattempt them. See if you get the same answer, particularly with your numeracy here in paper one. But there might be other questions where you can substitute your answers, for example, verify the information in the question. And then lastly, just please, please, please make sure you use all of your time in the exam doing these things, okay? Do not stop. You've got 90 minutes. If it takes you 60 to finish the paper, use every second, please, of that remaining 30 minutes going back through it and chasing down every single mark, cementing every mark you think you've got, making sure as much as possible, but then making sure you've shown you're working carefully, making sure that it's really clear what you've done, making sure written responses to questions are robust, making sure you've not made silly mistakes or misread questions, whatever it might be, but make the time count. So that's all from me. If you want to get in touch, please do. I will be on my emails. I will be waiting to hear from people. But otherwise, I look forward to seeing you in the morning. Please come in with work, get help, keep on working on improving that mark right up until the moment you go into the exam. Best of luck.